A Democrat beat out a Republican in a Texas Senate race.
Fort Worth voters have elected a Democrat as a new state senator.
The northern suburbs of Tarrant County have not had a Democrat representing them in the Texas State Senate for decades. Until now.
You ever see a headline and immediately check if your phone auto-corrected reality? Because in Texas, yes, Texas, a Democrat has just won a state Senate seat in a district that Republicans basically treated like a storage unit. You know, we don't go in there often, but we own it. I'm Michael Saint Gregory. This is Raw America. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and follow us on our Substack. You can find that link in the description of this video. Everything you do for us helps us continue to bring independent journalism to you. Now let's get into it. Texas has a seat won by a Democrat. I'm saying it out loud and I'm still trying to, understand it all. And the Democrat won by not a squeaker, more like a, sir, that's a margin. So here's what we're going over today. First off, what actually happened, numbers, context, and why this seat existed in the first place. Also, why special elections are like the bonus level of democracy. Same game, but completely different physics, and worth a lot more points, it turns out. And third, what this does and does not tell us about 2026 without turning one election into a political horoscope. And yes, we will do the important civic work of asking, how did millions of dollars lose to a guy with a Union jacket and a calendar reminder?
I think the factor is that this isn't red versus blue. This is right versus wrong. This is about public school funding. This is about helping working folks. This is about lowering costs. This is about everyday working folks.
So let's start off, as usual, with those official receipts.
Democrat Taylor Remitt beat Republican Lee Wambsgans in a special election this weekend. Remitt won the race with 57% of the vote. It is a huge swing in a reliably red district.
That is a difference of 13,680 votes. Those are official numbers, not vibes. And the total number of ballots cast in the whole runoff? About 94,938, which is not nothing, but it's small enough that your high school graduating class could swing an election if they all moved to the district and stayed hydrated. But here's what's also important. This wasn't a normal November election, if that is a thing anymore. This was a special election runoff created because Republican Senator Kelly Hancock left office to become acting state comptroller.
Remitt will now fill former state Senator Kelly Hancock's unexpired term. Hancock was appointed acting comptroller of Texas. Both Remitt and Wambsgans are now hoping to secure a full 4-year term, and both are running unopposed in their respective primaries next month, so there will be a rematch in November.
So you get a special election. Then if nobody hits 50%, you get a runoff. And in the first round, Remitt led but fell short of the majority threshold, so it went to the runoff. So far, just numbers and rules, right? Well, here's where it gets spicy. Multiple outlets frame this as an upset in a historically Republican-held district, one that Trump carried in 2024. And this is why people are freaking out, because the story isn't Democrat wins a seat. The story is Democrat wins a seat everyone assumed was functionally pre-owned.
Yeah, this is pretty shocking, not just for Tarrant County, but for the entire state of Texas. The Fort Worth area district that we're talking about here has historically been won by Republicans. And for context, President Donald Trump won it by 17 points in 2024. He even endorsed Wambsgans, who was running for the state Senate seat in District 9 last night, but Remitt managed to flip it.
But before anyone orders 5,000 Texas is turning blue tomorrow balloons, hold on. Here's your first big lesson. District partisanship is not a force field. It's a pattern, and patterns break when conditions change. Turnout changes, coalitions change, weather changes, and sometimes your opponent's side is busy having a knife fight within its own party over, what was it?
Supporters of casino gambling in Texas continue to press their case, and the industry is still spending big money on some candidates who back the idea.
Yep, casinos. Special elections are where politics go to become feral. Different electorate, different incentives, different attention, and crucially, different obstacles. For example, winter weather disrupted early voting in the area, including closures in Tarrant County. Now, that matters because in a low turnout election, anything that changes who can vote on which day changes the outcome. You're not nudging a million voter ocean, you're nudging a 95,000 voter pond. Now let's add another special election ingredient. The electorate is self-selected. These are people who, one, know that there's an election in the first place, also know which election they're a part of, and show up anyway.
We spoke with voters today about the wait times.
Maybe 20 minutes?
Yeah, about 20, 30 minutes.
And that was okay?
Yeah.
That'd be better if it was 2 minutes, but it's still your duty.
Yeah, I would have waited an hour. Yeah, that's how important this one. I would have waited 2 hours.
Also, they aren't currently trapped under a duvet praying their power grid holds. So when national folks say, well, this predicts 2026, the correct response is, it predicts who votes in special elections. And granted, that is still important, but it's not the same as predicting a general election. Now, with all things in politics, let's talk money, because this race had that everyone's aunt is suddenly texting you about it energy, partly because the spending was lopsided. Reports put the Republican side spending in the millions, far above Remit's spending. And Remit still won by nearly 15 points. That doesn't mean, though, that money doesn't matter. It means that money is not a cheat code if you can't convert it into actual votes, especially in an off-cycle election. What also matters is that outside groups mattered. Vote vets invested heavily on Remit's side, per the reports that came in, and candidate identity mattered. Remit was framed as a union leader and veteran. Wamsnas was portrayed as a conservative activist and an executive at Patriot Mobile. Those signals helped define coalitions fast in a low-info environment. Now here's the key. In a special election, your biggest opponent isn't the other candidate. It's the calendar, believe it or not. And Remit's coalition appears to have treated the calendar like an enemy combatant. So why was this seat so juicy for outside money and national attention? Local reporting described SD9 as part of a broader clash. Business groups pushing gambling expansion versus Christian conservatives resisting it. That fight wasn't just philosophical, it came with donors, ad wars, and factions. And when factions fight, if anyone has ever played Fallout New Vegas, turnout gets weird.
You want to die? Fine. Praetorians! Kill this asshole!
Meanwhile, redistricting context matters too. Reporting noted the district was designed in the last redistricting cycle to reliably elect a Republican senator. And that's not a conspiracy theory. It's how map incentives work. When you draw lines to maximize safety, you can also create weird fragility. A seat becomes safe. Only, though, if your turnout machine never breaks and your coalition never argues. And here's a useful county-level backdrop. In 2024, countywide presidential results in Tarrant County were about 52% Trump and 47% Harris. So the broader environment is not exactly a Democratic paradise. A Democrat winning a Trump-won district inside that county context is, needless to say, noteworthy. Now let's be fair to the skeptical take. The one your politically traumatized friend will text you at 1 a.m. Special elections are chaotic, weather messed with early voting, GOP factions fought, maybe some Republican voters just didn't show up, this doesn't mean Texas is flipping! Yes, that's a strong argument. Also, tell them to chill out for a second. But that's why I'm also not saying that Texas is blue tomorrow. Here's what I am saying. If a district designed to be safely Republican can flip in a low turnout environment, even with massive GOP-aligned spending, then nobody should assume their coalition is automatic. Democrats can't assume momentum votes for them. Republicans can't assume partisanship votes for them. The winner is usually whoever built the better "we actually got humans to the polls" machine. So what do we do with this? What do we do with this example of democracy that a lot of us are actually now starting to be unfamiliar with? Well, first off, we watch whether this coalition can be replicated in higher turnout elections. Then we watch whether Republicans unify or keep having expensive internal battles that create openings. We watch whether national parties treat off-cycle races like practice reps, or like the whole game. Because in American politics, the biggest twist in a plot is rarely persuasion, it's participation. Now, if you want more of these why did this happen breakdowns, Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm Michael St. Gregory. This is Raw America. I'll see you next time.